Okay, good evening and welcome, everybody in chambers here and online as well. We have a few people joining us there who aren't able to make it into the room this evening. The date is January the 8th, 2026, and the time is 6:01 p.m. I'm going to call this public information meeting to order, which will be followed by a Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting. So we'll just segue out of one and into the other. But first of all, we're going to address a planning application for file number 25-26, which is for 439 Clifton Avenue, Windsor, PID 450499921, managed by Senior Planner Alex Dunphy. Before beginning our meeting, I do wish to announce that West Hants Regional Municipality acknowledges that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and that this land is governed by the treaties of peace and friendship first signed in 1726. West Hants Regional Municipality recognizes that we are all treaty people and have responsibilities to this land and to each other. West Hants Regional Municipality recognizes African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose legacy, history, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. West Hants Regional Municipal Council and I, as your chair, are committed to ensuring that this meeting and its participants conduct themselves in a respectful and professional manner as outlined in the municipality's Code of Conduct guide. Meeting presenters, staff, and the public are expected to always conduct themselves in an equally respectful manner while the meeting is being conducted. I thank you all in advance for your commitment to these important meeting principles. With respect to this evening's meeting, the West Hants Public Participation Program, established under Section 204 of the Municipal Government Act, requires a public information meeting for development agreements and proposed amendments to the planning documents. This meeting is hosted by planning and development staff and provides members of the public with an opportunity to bring up any concerns and ask the applicant and planning staff questions regarding the proposal. This is the first step in the process, and no decisions have been made as of yet. As a reminder, this meeting is streamed live on YouTube, where you may view it at any time. As such, audience members are asked not to record the meeting on their personal devices out of respect for all those in attendance. One housekeeping item here, just before we begin the formal part of our meeting. If we need to leave the building due to a fire or other emergency, exits are found at the back of the room on both the left hand and the right hand side, as I'm pointing. The muster location is in the staff parking lot. I will offer to be the last person to leave the building to ensure that the washrooms are empty. We'll now begin the formal part of our meeting, as I will now turn the session over to Senior Planner Alex Dunphy.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just get the presentation up on the screen. Excellent. Thank you all for coming out to the public information meeting for this application. It is on Clifton Avenue within Windsor, and it is a rezoning application. So we received this completed application from Dave Lariche on November 28th, 2025. And it was an application to rezone a portion of the subject lot from the low-density residential R1 zone to the medium-density residential R2 zone to allow for subdivision and a 6-unit residential development on the subject lot. So here we can see an ortho photo of the subject lot. We previously had a development agreement for the previous single unit dwelling that was on the lot alongside the garage. And I'll go over a little further in this presentation the portion that is being proposed to be subdivided and rezoned. But near to this subject lot, there are a variety of uses, including some residential uses, higher density residential uses to the north, and it's also located across the street from the Clifton Avenue Park Museum. For the generalized future land use map here, the subject property is within the residential designation as much of the surrounding subject property or much of the surrounding properties are. Across the street, we have the community use designation, and that's the parkland that I had said in the last slide. Also on this map, you will see some artifacting along the roads. Here, just to note, that is a mapping error. These are just roads. Next on to the current zoning. So currently the entire subject lot is zoned low density residential. This currently permits dwellings containing up to 4 units and converted dwellings up to 4 units. As stated previously, there is a development agreement on the lot currently to allow up to 8 units. And the request for the proposed zoning here is medium density residential. So this would permit dwellings containing 5 or 6 units, as well as uses permitted in the R1 zone subject to those requirements. And as I noted previously, the application requests that only a portion, which is intended to be subdivided, will be rezoned. And I've done a representation of that new lot here. It's not an exact mapping of it. So here is a view of the portion that is being requested to be rezoned of the subject lot. You can see the current use of it on the left-hand side of this image. And this shot was taken earlier today from Alexander Street. Next here, we can see some of the surrounding area on Alexander Street. So the top image looks down towards Clifton Avenue, and the bottom image looks away from Clifton Avenue up the street. So some of the policies that we'll be looking at throughout this application, there's 2 major ones here. Policy 5.1.3. This enables council to consider rezoning a low-density residential lot to medium-density residential within the residential designation. And policy 16.3.1, which states the general criteria for all amendments to the land use bylaw. For our process here, we of course have our meeting tonight that starts off the process in whole. Staff will then review the application and bring a recommendation to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee, estimated for February 12th at this time. Then it will move on to council for first reading later that month on the 24th, and then on to the public hearing and second reading on March 24th. And if approved there, a notice of approval will be placed in the paper with a 14-day appeal period to follow. And just to note on this meeting, notice was placed in the Valley Journal Advertiser. Properties within 500 feet were notified of the public meeting, and signage was posted on the subject lot. So any additional comments or questions that aren't captured tonight can be sent to myself by phone, email, mail, or our Dropbox by January 22nd. And I'll leave this slide up just to capture that information to get in contact with me. I also have some cards at the front of the table there if you wish to take those. And that brings us to the end of my presentation. We do have the applicant for questions, but there's no presentation.
Okay, thank you very much there, Senior Planner Dunphy. Greatly appreciate the information provided and the update on this file. I think it was about a year ago when we were here for the first time. So welcome back. We'll say that. We do have members of the public in chambers this evening, and so we'll ask if there's any questions either for the planner or also for the applicants who are in the room to answer questions if requested as well. And the only thing I'll say before we start this, as anybody wishes to come up to the mic, just flip the switch on. And we just ask that you direct yourselves to the inside the chamber, then we'll assign the questions as appropriate, or unless you have a specific one for someone. So any of the members of the public in the room that wish to come forward with a question or a comment on the application? Please feel free, sir. If you would give us your first and last name and your general area that you reside.
John Hall, I live across the street from the subject property. Just two questions. I'm generally in favor of the development, but I'm wondering if on-site parking will be required.
Through you to the planner.
Through you, Chair. Yes, on-site parking is required as of right. And so this development, if the rezoning is approved, would still have to go through the as of right permitting process, and parking is required for that.
Okay, because there's a blind hill and the street's kind of narrow, and any more on-street parking would create a hazard. So it's permanent on-street parking. And secondly, what about affordable housing? Is there any requirement for affordable housing in the structure? And if so, will they get the 35% extension?
Through you, Planner Dunphy.
Through you, Chair, there is no requirement for affordable housing as part of the application. And I don't think, or at least I'm not aware of a component being affordable. However, if there is, maybe the applicant could speak to that. But if not, I'll take either a head shake or a.
Not at this time.
Sorry, could you just come to the mic just for the record? Thank you.
Yeah.
And if you would say your name as well, just.
Sure. I think I turned that off. Dave LaRue.
You need to turn it on.
Turn on.
There we go.
Yes, you.
Sorry, red light, I assumed it was off.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave LaRish. I'm one of the owners of the property. At this point, we're still pretty early in the stages. We've done enough homework to know that it's possible to put a 6-unit property or building on the property comfortable with parking in back, and we've had a preliminary conversation with the town on a few topics, and we haven't hit any big red lights. But in terms of the details of the build, we're still early days on that part. There's no ambition at this point to make it affordable housing. I'll call it, for lack of a better term, standard housing. We are trying to build a little brother to the house that's adjacent next door, and so the goal is that be a 6-unit building that would look and feel in the same style and character of the house next door. So that's as far as we've gotten into this process at this point.
Thank you, Mr. LaResh. Greatly appreciate the information. John, you're good. Thank you. So again, to members of the audience, members of the public that may have questions or comments on the development, feel free. Now's a wonderful time. It's just the early stages here. If there's something you'd like to know more about the project, great time to ask questions. No. Going once, going twice. We're sure, folks, everybody's good. Okay, that's great. I switched my light off too. So that's questions from the public. I think we're pretty much done here. I guess, Alex, you had your date up on the screen. I'll just announce it one more time for those who were paying attention from an audio standpoint. That questions and comments can be submitted until noon on January the 22nd of 2026. Alex Dunphy is the senior planner on this file. His email is adunphy, that's ADUNPHY @westhants.ca, or his telephone number that you can reach him at is 902-798-8391, extension 118. For general inquiries on this file, you can communicate with planning @westhants.ca. Their telephone number, the same initial 10 digits, 902-798-8391, extension 115. And there's also the website for West Hants that you can find contact details for the organization overall and planning specifically. And with that, we will adjourn this public information meeting. I thank you all for attending and participating, and I will now hand the chair of this table over to Michelle Bourgeois for the Planning and Heritage Advisory Meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey, for that. I guess we'll move right into the meeting. So it being 6:16 on Tuesday, January 8th, I'll call the PACAC meeting to order, and we'll do attendance.
Mayor Zabian is running a little late. Councillor Leary Pinch is also running a little late. Counselor Ivy is here. Tim Carr,
I'm here.
Jane Davis,
Present.
Guido Furlani. I didn't hear that, but I saw that.
You're muted, Guido.
Mark Keogh,
Present.
David Moore,
Present.
and Beth Eason.
Present.
Thank you.
Perfect. So it appears we do have quorum, so we can proceed. There are any announcements? I believe Senior Planner for sure has some, or Director rather.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So just right at the onset of the meeting, I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce our newest member of the committee, Beth Eason. So Beth joined us as the West Hants representative on the committee and comes to us with a background in environmental biology, work as an educator, yoga instructor, and as a previous town councillor for the town of Berwick. I'll also give Beth, or I think there'd be an opportunity for Beth to introduce herself as well. So sorry if I haven't captured everything, but we're thrilled to have her on board and look forward to her contributions to the committee. So please join me in welcoming Beth to the committee at this meeting tonight.
Welcome. Maybe it would be helpful, Beth, welcome. I know we did it with the roll call for attendance, but maybe if we just did a quick around the table, who's who and where they're representing. So my name is Michelle Bourgeois. I'm a resident member and chair for West Hants. And
Dave Moore, resident member of Windsor.
Mark Keogh, I'm a resident member for West Hants.
Jim Ivy, counselor for Windsor.
Jane Davis, representative for Hantsport.
My name is Will Holm. I'm the planner with the municipality.
Alex Dunphy, senior planner.
And I guess I didn't introduce myself before making that announcement, but I'm Carrie Fugier, the acting director of planning and development for the municipality.
we can't forget over in the corner, the one that makes it all happen is.
My name is Vanessa Lake, and I'm the planning assistant and meeting secretary.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Those online. Sorry, Tim and Guido. That's a very moving presentation. We can't hear you.
I will translate for Guido. We can't hear
Please
you, I
do.
don't think, Guido. But what he's saying is he's really excited to see Beth. Hi, Beth. We met at an event for the Township Association at I think the Naked Crepe, actually. So it's good to see you again. My name's Tim Carr, and I'm in Hantsport. I couldn't be there tonight, but I'm glad to be here via Zoom.
And that leaves me. And I wish I was with you all in person. I'm in Sydney for work. I work at NSCC, and I am thrilled to be here and back in municipal politics. It is truly close to my heart, and I'm one of those anomalies that absolutely love it. And so I'm thrilled to be here and use what I can and learn all I can for everybody. So thank you so much.
And just one other additional comment there, as often happens, other councillors will attend the meeting and sit in. And this evening we have Councillor Bonnie Smith, who is also from Windsor, as well as Paul Whedon from the Ardois Ellers House area in here with us. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great. So now what we look for is, we look for an approval of the agenda, and are there any additions? Oh, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I will not slip by without making some announcements.
Mark has some announcements.
It's winter time in Upper Vaughan, so we do have a few activities going on. So I just want to make the community aware. On Thursday, January 15th, we have darts in Upper Vaughan now. So come on out. Everyone's welcome. It's a random draw for partners each round. And then Friday, January 16th is a special night for the cribbage night. It's all are welcome for that as well. And it's partners as well. And then the big one I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of, because it's not until February, but we won't be in. We're in after that, so I'll announce it now. But February 6th, part of the Windsor Carnival or Winter Carnival for West Hants. The Upper Vaughan Hall is having, backed by popular demand, the chili cook-off. We've got 8 chilies. We need the public to sample them and vote for their favorite chili. So it's $10. You get to sample 5 chilies, and you get a bun and a beverage with that. So We would like everyone to come out to that if they have the time. And if Councillor Larry Pinch, Kayla was here, she would let you all know that there's 45s every Wednesday night at the fire hall.
Perfect. Thank you for that. I've heard that you're quite the chili cooker, so that may be encourage people to go out and see what he can do. Are there any other announcements? Anybody have anything else they'd like to share? Okay, there being none, what we look for or the approval of the agenda, and are there any additions to the agenda? So I'd look.
I'll move.
Move. Is there a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Ivey. So all in favor? Oh, all in favor of approval of the agenda? Show of hands. All opposed? There being none, the motion is carried. The agenda is approved. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest on behalf of anyone? Seeing none, we move on to look for approval of the minutes from, we didn't have a meeting in December, so our November 13th, 2025 meeting. We look for approval of those as they were written.
I'll approve those.
Thank you.
Second.
Second. Now, moving on to new business. I believe Planner Hong has a presentation to make.
Hey, thank you, Chair. My bad. This is a land use bylaw amendments application being presented to the Planning Advisory Committee tonight for your recommendation. So a bit context, we received a completed application on November 7 last year from Bradley Eaglestone, the owner of the Big Fur grooming shop in Windsor. And the purpose was to rezone the property from general commercial to highway commercial to relocate their existing dog grooming business and expand their business by providing boarding facilities and amend the section 5.20 of the West Hands land use bylaw. And here is the ortho photo of the subject lot as highlighted in yellow rectangle. As you can see, the subject lot has road frontage on Highway 1. And in terms of the surrounding context, you will find a mix of single unit residences and commercial establishments such as a dental office next door and also a farmer market next to the dental office. And this map shows the generalized future land use map of the West Hands municipal planning strategy, which indicates the subject lot and the most surrounding area are all designated as commercial core. And this property is also within the commercial development district of the West Hands municipal planning strategy. And you can see most of the properties as well are in this section along the Highway 1 are together within this district, which again suggests council's long-term vision to concentrate most of the commercial uses in this area of the community. And here is the current zoning map of the West Hands land use bylaw, which again indicates the current zoning for the subject lot is general commercial, which permits a variety of commercial uses. And this map shows the proposed zoning map. So to rezone to the highway commercial, which will then permit kennel uses as of right. And part of the application also requires a change to the section 5.20 of the West Hants Land Use Bylaw. And staff will note, although canoes are allowed in highway commercial zones, they are subject to special regulations, including setback from watercourse, lot lines, and also a 300 feet setback from a dwelling on an adjacent properties as highlighted in yellow. And the subject lot is not able to meet this particular criterion because there is an adjacent dwelling located on the left side of the subject lot and is within this 300 feet setback. So part of the application proposed to add the flexibility to allow kennels to be located within this 300 feet setback if a written permission is given by the owner of the property at the time of permitting. And I will note that we already received a support letter from this adjacent property owner for the proposed development. And this is a floor plan the applicant submitted along the application. And I will just highlight that the blue portion is where they intended to run the boarding service. And this portion is further away from the adjacent dwelling and it's closer to the commercial business of the dental office next door. And here are some pictures of the subject lot taken December last month, which shows the subject lot as viewed from Highway 1. And again, the area with 2 garage doors is where the boarding portion is being proposed. And here are 2 more pictures of the rear yard of the subject lot. And the picture on the right-hand side shows the adjacent residential dwelling. And finally, here are 2 more pictures of the surrounding context where we can find some commercial establishment and some residential dwellings across the street. And again, this particular area along Highway 1 is within the commercial development district. So the existing development pattern is consistent with that context. And moving to the policy part, and this is what enables this application to occur. And the West Hants Municipal Planning Strategy is the overarching planning document that we look at. So policy 5.5.11 is the enabling policy for this application and allows council to consider rezoning lands designated as commercial core to highway commercial zone, provided the applicable criteria are met. And in summary, this policy has been considered met since the proposal has frontage on an arterial road, which is the Highway 1, and no new structure are proposed except for the outdoor run fences, and no concerns were raised regarding traffic flow and safe and efficient roadway access by our provincial counterparts, and adequate on-site parking can be accommodated. And the final policy staff assessed against is policy 16.3.1, which is the general criteria in considering a land use bylaw amendment application. And in summary, this policy has also been considered met as the proposal is not considered premature or inappropriate for the area, and no municipal costs related to the proposal are anticipated. And the development officer, manager of building and fire inspection services, district manager of the Nova Scotia Department of Public Works have no concerns which have not been addressed in my staff report. And the final slide shows the public engagement summary. And in the beginning, a public information meeting was held on December 10th and broadcast on our municipal YouTube page with approximately 8 members of the public in attendance. And staff received 23 letters during the public comment period, and the majority of which expressed support for the application. And some common themes raised for support include the need for a safe and dependable grooming service in the region, and employment opportunities related to animal service, and the lack of dog boarding service in the region, the growing population of pet owners in the municipality, and the applicant's business history and the reputation within the community. So the planning process here again, as you can see from the chart, we are at the Planning Advisory Committee for your review and recommendation. Moving on, staff plan on taking this application to council for first reading later this month, which will then follow by a second reading and a public hearing. If the application was approved by the council during the second reading, the notice of approval will be published on the paper, which will outline a 14-day appeal period to the Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board. So that concludes my staff presentation, and I can take any question this committee may have. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Planner Hong on that presentation? Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, I've got a few questions. I'll just ask one and move along so others can ask questions too. But my first one is with the dog kennels only into the zones, highway, commercial, and rural commercial.
Through chair to the member, yes, that's correct. So under the West End land use bylaw, kennel uses are currently only permitted as of right in highway commercial and the rural commercial zone.
So when that was decided, I don't know, Planner Hung, if you can answer this, or through you, Chair, why wasn't kennels included in other commercial zones?
And future, so this bylaw was adopted a while ago, probably even before my time. So I have no idea the originating history behind this, but I think if I were guessing that the kennel uses might be subject to some noise level or some potential impact with the surrounding context. So those might be more suitable for those rural area where the lot tend to be larger, and for the highway commercial areas where some surrounding context may be already established.
And just to follow up to that with the noise, because that was my assumption too. I just wasn't sure. What are the community's recourses with noise? Because I don't believe West Hants has a noise bylaw, do we?
Through chair, I don't believe we have a noise bylaw in the municipality.
Jane?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. The setback from the adjacent property was 300 feet, and you've gotten a letter from the adjacent property owner. But what about the property owner across the street, which would be less than 300 feet? Have they been notified and asked for permission?
Through chair to the committee member, that's a great question. So yes, they have been notified as well through our standard notification process. And however, I will just pull up the proposed amendment here. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so as the current wording stands, it is required from adjacent property, and I will through my consultation with development officer, it is determined that the dwelling next door is the only adjacent dwelling, so the dwellings across the street will not regard as adjacent because it's divided by the highway. If that makes sense.
Thank you. And just to follow up to that, you listed some of the positive comments from the public information period, but you haven't listed any of the negative commentary.
Through you, Chair, to the committee member, that is correct. And so of 23 letters I have received, there was one email that I received stating one concern regarding the noise. And however, I will note that email message was cut off because the sender of the email put the email message in the subject line. And so because it was too long and it was cut off by the system, so I didn't receive the whole message. However, staff have already followed up with that sender and we didn't receive any response.
Guido, I think you have your cyber hand raised there.
Yes, I am having my cyber hand. I want to know if you can hear me now. Beautiful, thank you. So no, I don't have any question about this. I am positive about this intervention. I just wanted to say hi, Beth. Sorry, I had a problem with the sound before. Guido Forlani, citizen for Windsor as well. Thank you, Chair. Sorry about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. On to, go ahead.
Through you, Chair, my question is on the letter of approval. If this was to go this route, how binding is that? If that neighbor is told, "Hey, you're going to love it," and they say, "Hey, no problem," then they don't love it and they withdraw their approval, does that collapse the whole thing, or are they just stuck with it at that point?
Through you, Chair, I can maybe try to take that. So it's not a letter of approval from an adjacent property owner. It's a letter sort of granting their acceptance or permission at the time of permitting. So once the permit is applied for with that letter, then they can go forward with their development, and then the development is conforming. So they can't like retract that permission at a later date, or if the property changes hands or anything of that nature, they can't sort of retract that permission.
Yeah, thank you. That was going to be my next question. If the property's sold, if it carries over with it, it does.
Go ahead.
Yes, yeah, the use can remain.
Yeah, my main question is this is, like I say, this is going to be permanent. This is going to be as of right and across, and by the next land use bylaw amendment, it's going to be municipal spread wide. I mean, so this is going to be affect the municipality affected by one lot. So I have some trouble with that. And I'm wondering why a variance wasn't chosen as an option, because that would just apply to the current owner in the business, and when that's done, the lot will go back. That variance would be expired. Is that true?
And through Chair, to the committee member, that's a good question. So this was also brought up during the staff internal discussion. And from my understanding, the regulation as worded right now, this is more than just a setback. It's more of a separation distance. And from my understanding, under the Municipal Government Act, this is not subject to variance request. So it has to be through the land use bylaw amendment.
The Municipal Government Act. So the land use bylaw, is not acceptable. If you revise the I guess it's acceptable reasons for variance. If they have everything in there, lot area and everything, but they just don't have setbacks. So I mean, if you're going to revise one section of the land use bylaw, I mean, can you not revise just that one section, and it only applies to, so everything would be case by case rather than municipal wide?
Richard, I will have to discuss with the development officer and to see if that's an option.
Councillor Ivey.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I always get this mic. I think it works online, actually. It's just in the room that it's not as functional. So my question is, we have a request from the applicant who I believe is going to be a tenant of the commercial business. And so is that, and I think we've come across this in other applications before where the applicant isn't from the landowner or from the property owner. Can somebody just explain that to me, how it is that, a tenant puts in an application for a land use change without it being the owner in tow?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Ivy, that's a good question. So I think my understanding is as long as the property owner wrote a authorization letter, and then we can grant this application, so we can approve this, getting this, take this application and to further process. That's my understanding.
Thank you. So do I assume from that we've received a letter of authorization from the property owner that the future tenant can apply for the change in zoning and we're fine with that? Is that correct?
Through you, Chair, that is correct. I personally talked to the property owner and he was supportive with the proposal.
And we have that in writing?
We received the authorization form, yes.
Thank you very much for that. I'm going to go to, I think, a question that Mr. Moore had touched on here. It says that the text change will apply to all proposed kennels in zones they are permitted within the West Hants land use bylaw. I'd like one of you to explain to me the extent of that, if we could, through you, Chair, to Planner Hong, I should say.
Through you, Chair. So this will, once the proposed amendment be approved, this will apply to all highway commercial zones, and I would need to double check and get back to you in terms of how many parcels will be affected by this amendment. But for right now, I don't have this information.
Okay, and so the amendment is unless written permission is given by the owner of the property at the time of permitting. The requirement is 300 feet. I believe that with this property, it's down to 60 feet. Would that end up being a sliding number, that it would depend on any given application that we might receive, that number is a sliding scale? We're not just talking 60 feet. It would be on a case by case basis that number could move. Can you tell me that?
Through your chair. So it would, basically if the permission is given, then the 300 feet doesn't apply. So the dwelling could be adjacent and they would just be required to meet all of the regular setbacks of the development within that section of the land use bylaw.
Okay, so if I could extend that question further, Chair, through you to, I'll put it through to Mr. Hong or through to the acting director. So if in this case we had, I'll squeeze two questions into one here. We have a dentist office on the other side that wrote in with a question that we didn't see an answer to, except that they wouldn't be affected. Do we not consider the dental office to be a dwelling unit? Even though it's commercial, it's within it's less than 300 feet between where a kennel is going to be and a dental office. Is that, does that factor into this, or is it?
Through Chair to the Councillor Ivy, thank you for the question. So the definition of dwelling is listed under the West Hants land use bylaw, and to the best of my recollection, in order to be eligible for a dwelling, it has to be it has to have the self-contained bedroom and kitchen and restroom. So a commercial establishment next door is not considered as a dwelling unit.
Okay, so thank you for that. Because we only have these going into commercial zones, I would have thought that the 300 feet would have applied or been applying to commercial zoning within the districts. And that's the reason for the question on that, is that kennels only appear in commercial zones, but we're only applying the 300-foot separation distance to residential properties in a commercial zone. Do you understand my little bit of confusion with that?
Okay. Through you, Chair, I'll just field this one. I think the intention here was mostly for abutting zones. So the situation where you have a residential zone abutting a highway commercial zone, for instance. So that 300 foot from a dwelling with the addition of unless written permission is given by the owner of the property at the time of permitting. That's to help with those situations where, let's say, this subject lot is highway commercial and they want to do this use, and the next door lot is a residential zoned lot with a single unit residential on it. So that provision in the policy here would be to protect those types of scenarios.
Abutting zones, residential within. Thank you for that. And I think I just have one other question. I don't want to pull folks up here. I know I've got it marked, but it has to do with a comment by the development officer, in which he says his words were, and I'm quoting without having the exact words in front of me, that he didn't see any problems with it, providing that all setback requirements were met. And we're talking about the one setback requirement here, which is 300 from the nearest dwelling unit, but there's others there, 100 feet, I believe, off the front line. And are we, even though we're not focused on those, are all of those setback requirements met without any other changes within this application?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Ivy. And so you mentioned the 100 feet front lot line. And so if we read the whole sentence, it said, except in the highway commercial zone where the standard front yard requirement shall apply. So once this rezoning get approved, it won't be subject to this 100 feet front line. So it will be subject to the standard front yard requirement in the highway commercial zone.
So we don't have that number in front of us. Are we safe to assume that those highway commercial zone setbacks, which aren't included here, which is what this is going to get zoned to, that those are all met?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Ivy, yes, I would assume so, and I will also note that it is an existing structure, so no new structures are being proposed. So it has already meet the standards in the current zone, which is the general commercial.
Okay, thank you very much, and thanks for allowing that series of questions.
Guido, I see you have your hand up there.
Yeah, thank you. Listening to all my colleagues, just for my clarity and the clarity of everyone. So fundamentally, this thing, Mr. Will, sounds like a DA is attached from this moment on to the land, and then it becomes a standard for every commercial activity like this in these zones. Am I correct?
Future, could you rephrase your question?
Yeah, I don't know if it's clear, but you know, when you have a DA, a development agreement for a big development or small development, the DA stays with the land, is not with the owner of the land, but with the land. By listening, I'm just making a comparison for my own understanding, and I've not been this long in the PACAC to answer that question myself. It sounds to me, especially thinking about the question that, sorry, I don't remember your name, not the new member, Beth, the other gentleman. What's the name? I don't see it on the screen. He joined us last time.
Dave.
Dave, hi Dave, my apologies. Dave mentioned, could we do that on more of a single case unit by giving a special permission? I didn't fully understand that explanation of Dave, but it was interesting. And I am trying to equate what I'm hearing now to a DA, development agreement, that is given and stays with the land and then is forever with the land. It's not given as a commercial permission to this one case. Now it's becoming common law for all the kennels in these two commercial zones. Am I coming through, or am I speaking gibberish? Or just my Italian accent?
Through Chair to the committee member. So when you say DA, so right now the policy documents the municipal planning strategy, there is no policy to support a development agreement to enable this application.
No.
However,
Yeah, no, I know. I am making a comparison, saying when we do a DA for the big development, the DA stays with the land. Making a comparison. When we approve this tonight, it feels like we are almost doing something. First off, stays with the land, is not with the activity, will stay forever with this plot, with this lot. And second, we extend the permission to every kennel in every zone. So to me is two things in one happening here tonight.
Chair,
If I'm not clear, I give up. There is no problem.
I think Planner Dunphy is going to field your question here.
Yeah, through you, Chair, to you, Guido. I think you're on the same line of thinking as Dave tonight. So what I'm hearing is that you're asking about this being applied to all the highway commercial and all the, what's the second? Rural commercial zones within the region. So at the time, this is what staff are looking to do. So it would apply across the municipality. It would only apply within those zones. So if there are kennels that aren't in those zones, what we're doing here would not apply to it. So it would only apply to the highway commercial zone and the rural commercial zone, and allowing permission within those zones for kennels. So I hope that helps to clarify.
Absolutely. That is, thank you so much. It clarifies that aspect. The comparison I was making to a DA is that this amendment that we are probably approving tonight is going to stay with the plot of land and the owner, not with the activity. So it will be transferred over if the owner sells it and the property of the grooming service changes over the years and goes to someone else. Now that stays with this property. Likewise, a DA.
Through you, Chair. Similar function. So properties would be permitted. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Very good. Jane?
Thank you. There seems to have been some thought given to the noise generating from this new business, because you've shown that the kennels, the indoor overnight kennels, are going to be on the far side of the building, but the outdoor runs are going to be on the neighbor's side adjacent to their property. I'm just wondering if any noise reducing buffers like shrubbery, that sort of thing, was taken into consideration or given some thought.
Through Chair to the committee member, that's a great question. So in the current section 5.20 in the West Hampton land use bylaw, there are also special regulation with respect to the outdoor run for the hour of operation. And I will just read it through. So no outdoor access at run shall be occupied between the hours of 9 p.m. and 7 a.m. on the following day. So there's this hours of operation regulation in place. And with respect to the buffer, I think on the day when we do the site visit, there's some existing vegetated buffer currently in place, and hope that answers the question.
Okay, Beth, would you like to your first opportunity to comment?
Yes, thank you. My question, I guess, is a comment more than anything, and I think I do have a apprehension around just being concerned about the dwelling, because there is a dentist's office beside it, and that's intense work. And if you've got some noise, constant noise, outside if they're on a dog run or not, that's going to have impact on staff and potential patients. depending on what's there. So I don't know if just connecting with the dwelling and not any property that is commercial or otherwise that's close is really fair on the impact that this is going to have.
Okay, thank you for that. You're great. Mark?
Yeah, and along the lines of noise, earlier I had asked about the highway commercial and the recreational commercial be in the zones for these kennels, and there's the criteria there for setbacks. But if that's the spirit of what this bylaw was because of noise, I do think that 300-foot setback should be maybe looked at a little bit more, what the amendment may be. Just being able to eliminate it with the way it's worded there now with an adjacent property. I'm just wondering if there might be any appetite to amend it a little further, that it includes all occupied buildings or structures within 300 feet, because I find it a little just off-putting that the neighbor across the road is not being considered as an adjacent property because there's a road between them and they're closer or as close as the other ones. So I would like to see Mr. Bradley or the applicant get, his kennel up and operational, but I don't think it's fair to neighboring properties to have to deal with the noise if it's not something they want.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, the going through the comments, I had to do a moment analysis of the comments, put them on an Excel sheet and everything, but the neighbor across the street does support, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, does support the business, but did have concerns about the noise. So that was kind of like, yes, I support it, but I'm concerned about the noise. And I think, Will, you responded to that, I think. I know you responded to the dentist's office, but the one across the street, I think, I'm not sure if that was replied to. But they're supportive, and of course, the adjacent property owners are supportive. But that's the only two, because there's no addresses on any comments. That's the only two that I could identify that are within that 300 area that you notify residents that there's a rezoning application and their properties could be impacted. So you send that out, but we only got two supportive and one with a little bit of concern. And then we had the dental office that's concerned as well. So that 300 feet seems to have a lack of public comments. 45% of the public comments have no addresses. You have no way of knowing where they are. There's lost information in there. So I know the addresses are removed or redacted for confidentiality, but maybe if they're ordered and these comments are within 500 meters. These comments are within a kilometer or a kilometer beyond, because Chevrolet, to me, has no significant significance or direct impact on that property here in Falmouth. I mean, so 45% of the no addresses are eliminated. So all that support is meaningless to me. And then we have Chevrolet and Canning, and then we have Windsor, which is not too bad. They're a little bit more heavier weighted in their comments, and then you have Falmouth, of course, and you have Falmouth. They actually say they're adjacent. So you're down to two supporting comments, and one concern, and then we got one cut off. We don't know who they were, but within possibly 10 dwellings that were designated or were given that direct notice. I know the previous example was 500 feet. Given notice, but this particular one, the live was 300, I believe. So 10 dwellings and only two responses, and all the rest are beyond, the impact of it. It's more like a market research. Yes, we need this. Yes, we need that. We need the service, but nothing really saying. Nobody really addressing the noise. So that bothers me.
Thank you for that, Councillor Larry Pinch.
Thank you. So just a couple of comments. So I appreciate what committee member Dave is saying, but I think it's difficult to place value on whose comments weigh more percentage than the other, that's a tricky situation that we could get ourselves into if we start placing value on comments based on residence location. And also everybody is given the opportunity to reach out, to respond, to provide their comments. So if nobody else within those 10 residents gave their comments, they were provided the same opportunity opportunity that the two residents who provided their comments were. So that's their decision. And if we encourage staff to then go out after that opportunity was provided and try to receive feedback from people who may not have responded, we would have to do that with every development application, and that's just not a possibility. So everybody's provided the opportunity, and if they choose not to respond, then that's a decision they're making as residents within that area.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Well, is it not standard municipal practice to, when you give a comment, to give your name and address? Is this for the record?
I'm not sure who could speak to that. I'm certainly not the authority on that.
I can, through you, Chair, I can just speak to our standard practice with receiving comments. We remove, at the very least, the address for address and email address and phone number, anything that can be used to personally contact the individuals, as they're not leaving anonymous comments. They are leaving their name, and we are aware of who they are. But we just don't release the contact information for those people.
Great. Thank you for that. Mark?
Just a little more on the comments. The comments received for this are for this file, but the amendment is for the entire municipality. So I'm sure there's a lot of residents out there that aren't even aware that they may have selected a property to live on that could suddenly have dog kennels across the street from it now, which might not. You might receive a few more comments if that was a known fact throughout the municipality. So I know it will go to. The amendment will go towards public hearing and that sort of thing, and people can come in and talk about that. But this is a big change, not just for the application, but for the entire municipality.
Thank you, Councillor Pinch.
Thank you. Through you, this might be to Acting Director or Planner Hong, but if this amendment is made, it will go into the land use bylaw, and we are currently doing a plan review. So would that not be open to public consultation through the plan review if it's added in?
So through you, Chair, it's not something that we've added into the draft planning documents or something that has come up through that process. But if this were to be approved by council, then we would retroactively kind of add it into the new planning documents. Like, it wouldn't be approved by council and then 2 months later, if the plan review is approved, then it's no longer. So yeah, there's a bit of a process between, when we're waiting to have the plan review documents approved and then any applications that come through where there might be a little bit of overlap and kind of adjusting things as they come in.
Great, thank you. I guess I have one question on my own. It's just about the permission letter. Is that an agreement between strictly the property owner and the current adjacent resident, or is the municipality party to that agreement? Where I'm going with this is if resident adjacent decides this is a bad thing and decides to litigate or whatever, is the municipality exposed in any way with this document?
If I may, through you, Chair, it's not an agreement of any sort. It's so at the time of permitting, when the person applies for their permit, they would have to supply that letter to the development officer. The development officer would see that letter and then be satisfied that this requirement has been met and then make the decision on the permit. So it's not an agreement or anything of that nature. It's just at the time of the permitting. And once the permit is approved, the permit exists and the use is conforming.
Okay, thank you for that. Mark?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm trying to get there so I can, because I do want him to have his kennel, and I want to see council support it as well. I just can't get past the noise part and changing the spirit of the bylaws now for one neighbor that gives permission and not for the one across the road. But is there no way that this could be done in a development agreement?
Through Chair to the committee member. So right now, as our municipal planning strategy stands, there's no policy support for a development agreement process. And in order for us to consider, then it well has to go through another amendment for the municipal planning strategy. And that's another process, I would say.
Chair, if I may, I just want to point out too that if the committee has suggestions for potentially changing that wording, you can certainly amend the recommendation to add that in. Like we can, that's probably the best way to get that feedback in front of council. So, something like looking at the wording around the word adjacent property, that's something that the committee can suggest.
That's helpful advice. Go
I'll
ahead.
follow up with that, Chair. And again, we don't want this to be seen as staff directing the committee, but as an option, if there are concerns around the wide adoption of this, the committee could recommend that the amendments apply to a single PID. So this property, I'll throw that out there.
Thank you. I think that might help address some of the concerns. Guido, did you still have something?
It's a new hand.
A new hand.
New hand. I was thinking about the same thing. I was thinking about absolutely. I want the grooming service to have their possibility and do the work they do excellently by many, many years. But again, is the widespread notion that we are having here and the particular activity that in this case could be completely silent and not giving problem to anyone. In another case could be completely different. I'm always concerned when we give blanket permission to everything just by saying yes to one, you say yes to 20. So I think the suggestion, the idea coming from staff in this moment is actually, I would definitely support that because also we are learning as we go. Everything you do is an experiment when there is not already another case like that. And then we will see how it goes in a way. And for that reason, I actually, before Planner Dunphy suggested that, I was thinking if I could hear once more what Dave was suggesting, because in that moment I was still sorting out my sound and I was a little distracted, but his idea of having that on a more of one cases, I didn't understand the tool that Dave was talking about. Sorry, and I don't want to make this longer than is needed. I'm sure that everybody wants to move on and see the rest. Thank you.
Chair, I can clarify that pretty quick. I think there was discussion earlier about a variance. However, a variance would not be able to be used in this case as variances are only able to be utilized for changing a percentage of the land that may be built upon, size or other requirements relating to yards, lot frontage or lot area, or both. And those are the only times that a variance can be used. So it's only how much land can be built upon, how much lot area can be built upon, and what the setbacks can be. So it can't change a use with a variance. For the DA, there's no policy that supports a development agreement for this particular use. So a policy would have to be amended and created to allow consideration through development agreement. And hence, that's why staff have brought forward the recommendation regarding creating a policy to permit it as of right. Hopefully that clarifies.
Thank you, Alex. Yes.
And I just want to add one thing to that. So there's a difference between a setback and a separation distance. So a setback can be varied, a separation distance can't. And this is what would be considered a separation distance. So the variance could not apply to the list that you see up on the screen.
Thank you. Tim, I believe you have a comment.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Chair. I just want to say, listening to everyone's questions and comments is really excellent. I've been taking tons of notes, so I don't know where I'm going with this. But I will say that I think the proposed amendment is excellent. I have far fewer concerns, I think, than everyone else. I don't know, my perspective is a little bit different as a business owner and also the president of the Chamber of Commerce. I hear things about need in our community, commercial need in our community. This is a perfect location in my mind for such a thing. My dog attends a kennel, which is very similar to this, same size, similar situation with a neighbor next door. This is one of those applications that came with a lot of public support from people in our region, which is something that we've been working hard as a committee to increase. We want everyone in West Hants to participate in these conversations. So I'm glad that we received or that staff received as many comments as they did. I think I must be reading it differently from everyone else, because to me, when I read the last line, unless written permission is given by the owner of the property at the time of permitting, that gives a lot of power to a neighbor in a residential property. And I'm happy with that under sort of any circumstance, unless I'm reading it incorrectly. But I do know, like I said, this business owner comes with an incredible reputation, support of the community. I think it's a great location. It is on a highway. It's on a highway and also behind the main highway, the 101. So it's not in my mind a rural road. I think we all drive that road very, very often. It's one of the busiest roads in our region. So noise for me is less of a concern when it comes to a business like this, having said that my dog attends a similar situation. So I have a sense of how loud things get. And I'm really unbothered by this. And I'm hopeful. I guess we're not at the point of voting, but I'm very supportive of this proposed amendment. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Mark?
Just in the spirit of the current bylaws now with the noise, am I able to make an amendment to the amendment? A motion?
Yeah, well, we'd have to see the recommendation up on the screen.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to need to read that too.
Just while we're bringing that up, I believe the process here would be that you would be asking for an amendment to the recommendation, just to clarify for PAC.
Yeah, it's the amendment to the section is what I'm referring to. I just want to do it correctly. I just want to amend it that it would include dwellings and occupied structures within 300 feet. That way, as what Tim says, it does give a lot of power to the neighbors, but it should give it to all the neighbors. Not sound doesn't recognize imaginary lines, and changes of zoning and stuff like that. So the 300 feet would protect not only the neighbors that are adjacent, but it would protect the dentist's office next door, and it would protect the neighbor directly across the street. And that would apply to all the municipality. So
Perfect. Thank you. I think I'll get you, Grabby, in a second.
Yep.
I think one of the other concerns, just trying to bring everything together so we can get traction one way or the other here. I think another concern was sort of, I think you alluded to, there was some questions about applying this across the municipality versus PID by PID. I don't know if that's something that I think probably speaks to what you were talking about, Dave, is apply it to this specific case versus a broad stroke.
Well, yeah, I want to follow up on
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
With the comments you made that the amendment could include which is that you could, it only applies to this particular PID. That seems to be the easiest solution. I mean, you didn't go further with that, but maybe you can explain that a little further. Has that been an option? Because I love dogs. I've had large breed dogs and small dogs but I just have a problem with the residents here and the noise levels. But if that option is a solution, I think that should be explored. Rather, it's like swatting a fly with a 2x4. This amendment.
Through you, Chair, just to respond to committee member Dave here. So if you're looking to make that amendment to the recommendation, I think you would also want to put that out as a request to amend the recommendation. I'm not sure what happens when we have two different amendments. I would assume we would vote on both. I'm looking for any support on that.
I'll defer to you, Mayor.
Yeah, no motion has been made yet. So I think committee is just suggesting things that they may like to see within a motion while it's made. So well, I know we're talking about amendments, but and Mark, I think, started off by amending what staff have proposed as an amendment within the current bylaw. So I think that's what Mark was alluding to. So nothing to do with the actual recommendation. So the recommendation can be made with the additions of what citizen member Keo had said, and then the final one on site specificness. So those could be add-ons to this recommendation.
Perfect. Thank you for your clarity on that. Jane, did you have something?
Just wanted to follow up. I'm in favor of making the change to adjacent property rather than sort of adding a couple more words there, and in agreement with the PID in the overall recommendation.
Thank you. Councillor Larry Pinch.
Through you, Chair, to Acting Director Fougier, if we make a change to how the language of adjacent is applied, does that then further down the road in other areas outside of this rezoning application cause a change in how adjacent could be applied within those circumstances?
So I wouldn't recommend changing how we apply the word adjacent. I would just recommend changing that entire sentence. So to using text like, let me just pull it up and again so I can read it. So 300 feet from any dwelling within 300 feet, and just remove adjacent property, because adjacent is something that's defined, in the MGA. So we can't really waiver how we use that. So yeah, I would recommend that the amendment would not just add text to that part of the land use bylaw, but remove a portion and add new text.
And then if we're using dwelling, that still doesn't apply to the commercial properties because they're not considered dwellings.
The occupied buildings.
Right. So a dwelling would just be purely anything residential. I would be hesitant, I think, to recommend within or to gain permission within adjacent commercial buildings, because most of the highway commercial zones, the adjacent building is also highway commercial.
And they all create noise, just different types of noise.
And most of the highway commercial, or I guess rural commercial, are in more high traffic areas. So I'm just thinking of West Hants. So along that part of Falmouth is highway commercial, mainly on that side of the road between the big highway, little highway. There's a little bit out in 3 Mile Plains as well. And then some small pockets of rural commercial out in some of the more rural areas.
Your light was on there? No, you're. Okay, so we have some suggestions for some changes.
So through you, Chair, Will just suggested something that we could add to the recommendation. So if somebody wants to make that recommendation or suggest any changes, we're all ears.
May I? Sorry, I don't know if I put my hands up. I'm not clear about one thing is, are we still talking about limiting our recommendation tonight to this PID, or is now with this within 300 feet from dwelling is blanketing on every activity of a kennel in these two commercial zones? I'm not clear about that. Sorry.
Through you, Chair, just to clarify for Citizen Member Guido, apologies. The amendment that's on the screen right now does not include the addition pertaining this amendment to one singular PID. So that's not part of this recommendation. However, PAC may make a recommendation with that addition.
Thank you. So in this moment, we are blanketing on every activity of this type in the two commercial zones. And now we are just extending the request of the approval from dwellings within 300 feet to all the WHRM.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm just through you, Chair. Just more questions on. I know you say we can't apply it to commercial buildings, but like what I'm just concerned about things like institutional buildings, like community halls and churches. You know, if it opens them up to having a kennel right next door to them, so which you know, I would hope they would have a written letter as well if that was the option.
To you, Chair. So as it stands right now in the West Hampton land use bylaw, kennels are a permitted use in all highway commercial zones. And if there is a residential property adjacent to that, that's where the 300 feet comes into play. And so for the scope of this application, we're just looking at this one lot for the rezoning, and then the residential component comes into play. So that's why we focused in on that. A larger conversation around permitted highway commercial uses and what they're adjacent to might be a little bit outside of the scope of this particular amendment, in my opinion.
Larry Pinch.
I was just curious, if we apply it to all dwellings within 300 feet, is that only one more dwelling? That it's just the one across the road, or is there?
Through chair to the counselor, I believe there are a few more dwellings across the street. Just let me pull up the also photo. And so you can see my mouth here. So this is the considered the adjacent dwelling where we originally intended to get the approval from. And I believe this is also a dwelling, and the property across the street, this is also a dwelling, and I believe this is also a dwelling, and everything next right to the subject lot are commercial business. So so if we were go through the amended recommendation, then yes, we will be asking for approval for all the dwellings within the 300 feet.
And all of those dwellings would have received notice of this?
Yes, because that is through our standard notification process and in the beginning. So all of them have received our original public notice in regards to the public information meeting with this proposal. However, we didn't receive any feedback from the adjacent dwelling. And to the best of my understanding, I know the applicant is trying to talk to the neighbors from the onset. So that may explains why there might be less inclination for public participation, because they are already notified from the process in the beginning.
Okay. So just for my personal opinion, I am not agreeable to the amendment of asking the other residential dwellings to write letters giving permission for them to have, because I just think it sets a precedent that then when we go into other things that create different types of noise, then we're looking at asking permission. I mean, they're across a highway. There's noise across a highway. There's noise from the highway in behind. They're not outside from 9 until 7 a.m. So you're going to have no noise during that period of time. I mean, I think that's when we consider our neighbors' noise, who may have their own dogs that are barking throughout the day, acceptable, is that they're inside during those time periods. So I think it's extra hoops for someone to jump through when we're trying to encourage commercial businesses to come to the area.
Great, thank you. Guido.
Yes, I appreciate what Councillor Leary Pinch is saying. It's true. Commercial activity should be given a prize to wanting to continue to bring business and do better things, and I have nothing against. Absolutely, I don't know the gentleman or the lady of this activity, but I'm sure it's a phenomenal activity and will be. You know, I'm only sensing that we probably a lot of us in this committee have a problem in approving a blanket thing. I am having the feeling that we skipped the 300 feet because righteously, Kayla said before, if someone had a concern, they should have come forth, right? They had all the time and the information like everyone else. So the 300 feet is not a problem for me. What I am thinking is, would it make it, we move forward, that we have discussed this for probably more than an hour, if we just do this PID, because we are not that busy that, oh my God, how many kennels will open in the next 3 months, and better we approve them all right now. What if we just made this PID as is, approved, and as it's been provided, and everybody had the time, and there will be the public hearing also for other opinion, but we just approved this PID. The only thing I don't feel like tonight and in general is to give a blanket thing. We can see case by case. We are not that busy here. Thank you.
Great, thank you for that. No. So Guido was talking about making an amendment to that recommendation, making it specific to this PID. Now, I don't know if anybody has any verbiage that they'd want to see in there, or
I'm not ready to make the amendment yet, but I agree with Guido to isolate to the PID, but I would like to see the 300 feet stay, especially since if it would be just the original, just one PID, only because I feel if there is one resident within that 300 feet that doesn't want it, and it's just because that they're on the other side of the yellow line, I just feel we're doing them an injustice. So I would support Guido's amendment to isolate this to one PID as well.
perfect, thank you. So I guess we could add that to the recommendation.
And if I may add, I don't know if I'm audio chair through you. I as well appreciate the point of view of Mark because the specific type of activity. So it's a very specific thing, and we know how many times we had to deal with sound issues and noise, and we didn't regulate this. And I am thinking of all those that are not aware, but then become aware because something goes south. So I will limit to the PID, and yes, I would honestly hear the opinion of one other unit that is within 300 feet. Maybe they were on vacation for Christmas and they went to the Bahamas. You know what I mean? Would be sensitive. I don't think it will stop this process. Thank you.
Perfect. So we'll have the recommendation. We've already got the amendments to the text to include 300 feet. And the PID specific, I guess. Will?
Through Chair, just give me 1 second to let me double check and how the wording should be proceed, if that's
Absolutely. Thank you.
possible.
Okay, we have a recommendation on the floor.
I'll make a motion to make the recommendation. I'll do the one that's on the screen there now. Do I need to read the entire recommendation or just the addition?
I would read the entire thing.
Yeah, so the amendment that PACAC recommends that council give first reading and hold a public hearing to consider amending the maps of Schedule A of the West Hants Land Use Bylaw to rezone the lot as identified as PID 45242112 from General Commercial GC to Highway Commercial HC zone, and amending Section 5.20 of the West Hants Land Use Bylaw as shown in the report 25-24 to the Planning and Heritage Advisory Committee dated January 8th, 2026, with amendments to the text that these amendments only apply to PID 45242112.
Thank you. Now we'll look for somebody to move that motion.
I move it.
Seconder? Seconded by Member Davis. Okay, can we have we'll put that to a vote now? All those in favor?
Questions?
Oh, sorry.
I just
Go
think
ahead.
we've gone around.
Mark, just make the motion. So he made it, then who seconded it?
Guido.
Okay,
I moved.
thank
I
you.
moved. I.
Gene.
Okay.
So
Councilor.
my only comment on this, given the number of times that we went around the circle on this with possible text amendments and so on, all we're doing here is fixing this to the PID. No changes to the text amendments as relates to 5.2, et cetera. I just want us to be clear on that so we know when we vote. Is that correct?
Through chair to the councillor. So as the recommendation stands right now, staff will further revise the amendments and to reflect the amendments that the councillor, the committee member just made. So the proposed amendment will be only applicable to this particular PID. So I would assume that the previous amendment on my presentation slide will be no longer applies. So we will come up with the new wording, and which we will then present the new wording in front of council during the first reading.
And if I may, just to clarify, so this will mean that the only property that can waive that 300-foot separation distance is this property, as long as they get permission from the adjacent property. That's what the amendment to the text will look like.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Everybody understands what we're doing there? Okay. Did you have something, Mark? Or so we're prepared now to move this to a vote?
Sorry, I thought the text amendments was to properties within 300 feet to give their okay. And then the recommendation is to apply those amendments only to this PID. So there was two changes, not just the PID.
Are we required a second motion? I think we have to deal with them separately. Is that correct? If we want to add the within 300 feet instead of adjacent?
That I'm not sure.
So
This is, as Acting Director Fougier just said, this is site specific only. If the committee felt that you wanted to add all dwellings within 300 feet, that would have to be an amendment to this. Or you could make a second motion to have staff add that in as well. Probably better to have it as an amendment to this. It would make more sense.
So we would vote on this, and then somebody would have to propose an amendment to
If
this.
somebody wished to propose an amendment to what's stated up there now and that was just made and seconded, committee would then address that. And if that was a positive vote on that, then this motion would then reflect that amendment.
So I would move that section 5.2 be changed to amend to, sorry. You're talking and I'm thinking at the same time, which is good. I want to make a motion to amend this recommendation to include the changing of the wording in section 5.2 to notification of properties within 300 feet. Am I getting around that right?
Sorry, I didn't overstep. I just want to clarify, if you're recommending that we amend the text, the general text that applies to all highway, commercial, or anywhere where a kennel is permitted, to remove that adjacent, and that would be all dwellings within 300 feet, or are we keeping this specific to the PID, that for this PID, they can?
Keeping
Sorry.
it specific to this PID.
Okay.
So the amendment is an addition of that onto
Yeah.
the original.
Yeah.
We will get there, I promise. Councillor Ivy.
I just want to be clear on the wording that was used here, that that I heard, that it was for notification of people within 300 feet. I don't think that was the crux of the conversation. And so I just want to be clear here that, again, trying to make sure that we're voting on this, that in our minds, we're all voting on the same things discussed. So I would ask that of the mover, if that's what they intended or not.
Thank you. If we could just see that on the screen again, so we can get the wording correct. So the motion would be to change 5.2A4, 300 feet from an adjacent property, unless written permission is given by the owners of those properties at the time of permitting.
Within.
Very pinch.
So I just want to clarify. So I'm not trying to be, but I'm just seeing this from the outside in. So what we are suggesting is that this business owner will have to get permission from all dwellings within 300 feet. But if another business owner in another area who wants to open a kennel does not have to get permission within all residences within 300 feet, if we only apply it to this PID.
So what I would suggest that this amendment would look like, the text that's in black, 300 feet from a dwelling on an adjacent property stays the same. So all other highway commercial zones have to have a 300-foot separation distance from a dwelling on an adjacent property. We will then insert a bracket and say for PID, whatever the PID is, if written permission is provided by property owners of dwellings within 300 feet, this 300-foot separation distance can be waived or something to that effect. So it would just be for that PID that they can have a kennel within less than 300 feet of any dwelling, as long as they get permission from all of those dwellings within the 300 feet. But every other highway commercial and rural commercial property that wants to have a kennel, they will have to follow the 300 feet to any dwelling, and it can't be waived.
So they will not have the same opportunity that this business does in the future, or you could bring it forward as an amendment again for that particular PID.
Yeah, they could apply for an amendment for that particular property, and we would look at it similar to tonight, one property.
Okay. And the amendment that was just proposed in the motion is solely to include getting written permission from all dwellings within 300 feet.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
The amendment that was just proposed is to get permission from all dwellings within 300 feet.
Mm-hmm. For this particular property, to allow this particular property to have a kennel, because they cannot meet the 300-foot separation.
Yes, I just wanted to know what the amendment included, so it only includes that. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Go ahead.
Is there no way just to list it as an exemption if like a property owner's?
Yeah.
Because that's just the easier way to do it. If you're exempt from that, if you have letters from all property owners within 300 feet.
Yeah, I think the wording could say that this property is exempt, I guess, from the 300 feet, so long as they have permission from all property owners of dwellings within 300 feet. So yeah, we can we can play with the wording, but as long as we understand, I guess, the intent of the committee and their recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah, and to Kayla's point, that puts them all on level ground. They would just have to apply for the exemption if they want the same exemption.
Mayor Zabian?
Yeah, I see this as creating two different playing fields. Again, if for this site specific PID, if one property owner says, no, I'm not going to give you a letter, then this business can't exist there all of a sudden. As opposed to any other highway commercial, it can pop up without this requirement, as long as they met the 300-foot distance. I know in the past, Falmouth's been labeled as extra special privileges compared to 3 Mile Plains, which is referenced often. And that's what comes to my mind as another highway commercial area. And I just, before this meeting, I was just at a town hall and it was brought up as well, believe it or not. So I see this and I couldn't support this as it is now. Just, I know, I'll just leave it at that right now.
Good.
Yeah, I just feel the other option is just to keep it as is, and then it's just not the right spot for a kennel. I mean, that's, you know, if you don't find a way to help him get his kennel there, then we're just saying the criteria doesn't support your application for a kennel in this situation.
By as is, are you saying as originally or as we're seeing it here on the screen? Okay.
Could we add it to a majority, like say 50% plus one or 75% of those owners in 300 feet?
Through chair to the committee. So I think it might be helpful to add some more information. So while this might not include in my staff report, but part of the I can confirm that as part of the staff review, I also look at how other municipalities in Nova Scotia are actually regulating with respect to the kennel uses, and I can confirm based on my review, our current regulation as presented right now are already more stringent than most of the other places. For example, town of Truro, the lot setback is only 15 feet, whereas our is 50 feet. And in comparable communities in Halifax Regional Municipality, for example, in Hellman's Plain, Beavers Bank, they are actually no special regulation when it comes to kennel use. So I think as planner myself, the broader question for the committee is how much regulatory control this committee may wish to place on kennel uses, especially in this particular commercial area where council have intended for future commercial development in this particular section in the Falmouth, and especially when the future land use map already designated as commercial core, where this type of commercial business are supposed to concentrate. So that's my 2 cents, just for greater discussion. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, we do have a motion on the floor, so I was just going to say maybe we should just because I do agree with Member Zabian. I don't like creating a 2-tiered kind of process, and maybe we should just vote on the amendment. If it passes, it doesn't, whatever, we'll just deal with the original motion at that point. So
there's been a subsequent amendment since we
I don't think
it was never.
There's been no motion on the second one yet. Correct.
I mean, for clarity of an understanding, we'll make sure that everybody understands what we're voting on here. It's
The first vote would be on the amendment.
with this amendment here, the text that these amendments only apply to PID 45, and that's been made and seconded, I believe. Or
The amendment was made by citizen member Davis.
another amendment. So to move forward with that amendment, forgive me here, I'm learning as I fly here, so bear with me.
So the only thing that I'm going to, it hasn't been seconded, right? I've heard the terms interchangeably been going around the table here again with dwellings and property and the like. And I want to be sure that this committee knows what are we voting on, to be clear, because it seems to be cycling back and forth amongst the group of us. I don't want to be difficult. I just want us to be really clear.
I'd agree, because I'm not clear. So,
Well, if I may say something, a moment ago, Mark read the entire recommendation as is now on screen. I think we are seeing the same recommendation, all of us, with the addition in red, with amendment to the text that these amendments only apply to PID 45242112. I second that. There was the amendment, or it was the entire recommendation. I'm not clear about that.
If I may, Chair, citizen member Keo read the recommendation that is up on the screen now with the red text as well. That motion was made and seconded. So that's the official motion on the floor. Citizen Davis made an amendment, but we haven't had a seconder on that yet. So that'd be the first thing to clear up, if there's a seconder for the amendment at this point. And if so, then committee can.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
So is there a seconder for the amendment made by resident member Davis?
I would like to see the amendment written so we know exactly what the amendment is.
Chair.
You're doing good, John. I'll second Jane's amendment.
Okay, so we need a vote on the amendment on the screen in purple. So we're looking for all in favor of that amendment? Apparently. So we have a seconder for the amendment in purple text on the screen that resident member Davis. So we're there. So we would be taking a vote on that now, I believe. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passed 5-4. So, and this has been previously moved and seconded, but.
Now because we had one out of the room, so now you vote on the whole motion as amended. So that's the whole motion now being put to a vote.
Okay, would it be
Doesn't
best?
need seconded, or that's the whole motion now.
Would it require reading or? Okay, So we'd be looking to take a vote on the motion that we see on the screen in front of us with the amendments as written in front of us. So
I can
all in
read
favor-
if you want. Oh, you read? Okay, go ahead.
No, we're fine. It's there. It's been read.
Okay.
Mark?
But just for clarity, this is just for the amendment, not for the motion. The read amendment, no? The whole thing now. We are voting on this as the recommendation.
This is for everything you see on the screen in front of you. So what we would be looking for is all those in favor. Those opposed? That's okay. Motion carried. All right. Thank you for everybody for their input on that. So, we got there in the end. All right. Now, the next item we have, it's more just an information item. It was included in your package, was the development activity report that Acting Director Frazier had. I don't know if anybody had any quick questions on that or anything, or it's
This is just an information report provided to you tonight. It's also being provided to council as well, just to highlight the development activity in the municipality last year. So I don't have a presentation or anything, but if there's any questions on that information, happy to take them.
okay. There being no questions, we'll move on to business arising from the minutes. I don't believe there is any. So business arising from the public information meetings, which could include the PIM that we had at the beginning of this meeting as well. So if there were any questions that generated from that or any previous PIMs, this would be a good opportunity to bring them forward. Jane?
I know it's not recommended for a rezoning, but I'm just wondering if a site plan might be offered in the report that comes to us next time about this, just so we can see when the owner was talking about the little brother of the original home, gave a different perspective to what many might be imagining a 6-unit building to be.
Perfect. Thank you. Senior Planner Dunphy?
Through you, Chair, just to respond to Committee Member Davis on that one. As I've responded previously, rezonings, we can't require a site plan. I can make a request to the applicant to utilize if they do have a site plan within the report. So I will make that request.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. There being nothing further on that, I believe the rezoning of Clifton Avenue, you've already talked about that. So we have the file updates. We won't necessarily go through any one unless there's any, all of them, unless there's any questions on any specific one. We could deal with those. If not, we can just move through those. Okay, no questions. We do have the building and development activity reports from November and December. Any questions, comments on those? There being none there, there are no notices that I'm aware of from adjacent municipal units. Nope. There was one email I saw from Kings, I think. There being no members of the public here, there's no public comments. So with that, our next meeting date will be February 12th, 2026. So we'll move for adjournment.
Before we adjourn, we
Please.
forgot to wish everybody Happy New Year because
Thank you.
Yes, we did. We missed everybody for a
We
while.
did.
So Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Oh, and I motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
I don't think